people and I'll put them against anybody. I'll take a group and you take your group and you say, okay, well, you need a march for this, and when this is done to these 1,000 people, they will be more successful. Protest, and then when we achieve this, then we're going to be successful. No, it's because wherever you go, you're still going to have the same obstacles. People are not going to give up power. That's one thing I learned a long time ago. And you can say, oh yeah, well, we're going to take it. Well, then there you go. You could take power, or you could just create your own, whatever it is. You could just work for a good company. You could start your own company. But it's going to take those things. It's going to be taking risks, working hard for other people at first, and then, whether it's a customer or a boss, and taking chances. That will have more to do. And let's say there are, I don't know, we'll use a round number, 10% people that are racist. Well, if you go to 10 interviews, okay, one of them was a racist. Well, let's focus on the other 9, or the one that will hire you. And, like I said, I'm going to go through a lot of things. I get so frustrated at people. I do try to work on it. Obviously, that's otherwise, if you're not working on your happiness, you're not going to be happy. But, I thank God. I don't know if it's the way I'm wired or just the way things are, but I don't blame it on race. And I used to work around. For a few years, I worked in a blood lab, and there were a lot of black people working there. In fact, I was the minority, and I could care less about race. And ironically, that's probably why I got the job, is because I was white, because there was so many minorities. And the thing of it is people would have this opinion about me because I was white, and like, what in the hell? And I just, I never even thought twice about it. In fact, I went to a concert. It was what the hell was it? My cousin worked for Monster, and he got like super good tickets. So anytime there was a thing, I went to it. It was it had a Lincoln Park and what was the other one? I don't remember. One of those big events, right? So I go there and I'm getting some water. It's just like water was such a commodity. I felt like Woodstock. It's hot, I'm thirsty, so I got these 2 big things of water. I'm coming back, and I left my friend. He was saving our spot, and I see this crowd next to me. I'm like, what in the hell? And I looked, and it was 3 white guys were just bombing on this black guy, and I'm like, gosh, shit. It was obviously a race thing, because it wasn't like, hey, somebody looked at somebody's girlfriend or whatever. These guys were out to, and they look like white supremacists. And I guess in the Inland Empire, in certain areas, it's probably more prevalent. The only other time I seen it was I was at the Krusty Demons, a dirt bike show. The guy in front of me, or at the Forum, had a white power tattooed on the back of his neck. And I'm thinking, this guy, we're in Inglewood. I'm like, this guy better hope he has a very reliable car, and if I saw him, broken down, I would just honk my horn and just have a nice day. So anyway, so these guys are fighting. So I put my drinks down, I hop over the fence, or I'm on the other side of the K-rail because they're coming at me. The guy's still on his feet, and the black guy, and so I grabbed them, and I was pretty big at the. I mean, I was just working out, 5 days a week, and I used to take martial arts, and I love that stuff, and I'm pretty physical, athletic guy, and so it's just, I'm like, I mean, obviously I'm not looking for a fight, but I had zero fear at all. So I took the guy, because it was just right and wrong, and I kind of stood him behind me, and I told the guy, I go, hey, knock that shit off, and then they went. They found somebody else, I guess. I don't know. They just went off to the distance, and I had this guy next to me, and he wasn't too bad. He was a little bit bloody lip, but he I don't know. For all I know, I'm thinking, and this is not a racist thing, but it's just like, it just, I'm thinking, where you got friends or something? Like, can we, it's just you and me against everybody, and so I just hung out until security got there, and of course my friend, I go up to my friend, I go, hey, and he's a big guy too, and he goes, told him, hey, you'll never guess what happened. And he goes, yeah, I saw the whole thing. I'm like, hey, why don't you come over and help? He's all, we had a good spot. I didn't want to lose it because it's one of these big crowd things. There's a bunch of bands. I'm like, are you kidding me? But anyway, my point is there are a certain percentage of people that are racist, and we have to deal with them. I have to deal with them too. Obviously not on a daily basis or whatever. But what's weird is the rest of that concert, I had to keep my head on a swivel because they were trying to cold cock me, come from the side and take a sucker punch. And, as long as I seen him. And my point is this. When I went back to work the next day, do you think anybody gave two tokens about what I did and cared at all? No. And I guarantee you I did more than my black brethren at work. I did more than they would have done. I know for a fact. They would have just sat there and watched and then said, oh, poor brother, let me pour out some liquor for him. Because I know these guys, and the same, and there's a bunch of. I'm not gonna say, this is all the stuff I did, because then it sounds like you're too apologetic. But my point is, there's nothing we could do. This now I'm speaking as the token white guy. There's nothing we could do to change anybody's mind. It should have been, okay. Oh, Brent has done all these things, therefore he is this. But no, there's you're white, you get this. And you're this color, you get that. And ultimately, isn't that what we're fighting anyway when it comes to race? We're fighting the prejudices that people have. Sure, there are some prejudice that we should have and discernment in that if somebody's dressed like I interviewed I think two black guys that worked for me, and over the years, just because of what I do, it mostly Hispanic workers or white people that have a criminal record were the ones that apply. And the first black guy I interviewed, he almost seemed too successful. And I'm like, because his dad had a painting company, so I'm like, I don't know. I felt like that he was going to just integrate my business. I could tell some people are entrepreneurs, so it had nothing to do with race. It's just at the time I didn't want any distractions, because I had a couple people that try to start their own business, and it's, hey, God bless you if you're going to do it, but it's just when I know it ahead of time, I'll just pass, and if there's a bunch of other people, because it used to be a lot of people would show up for the interview. And then the other guy I hired eventually, looked clean cut, big guy, used to be MMA guy, or was doing it, I don't know, I guess he was the cousin of what the hell's his name, Rampage. So anyway, I hired him, but he was just like, it just didn't work out, I was like, I don't know, I mean, on the phone and kind of acting lethargic, and it's just, it just didn't work out. And this is after a few complaints about certain things, and believe me, I wanted this guy to work out so bad, because it's expensive for me to train people, but it's just, if you're not in it from the very beginning, it's just not going to work out. And of course, like everybody else, I have to let go. There's always problems, and so it's unfortunate that it didn't work out. I'd love to say half of my crew are black, but they've always tend to be Hispanics, because those are the ones that would show up for the interviews, and I'm gonna pick the best one I can, and it's getting harder and harder because nobody wants to do labor. But there are certain things said that I could, I mean, he was a nice guy to talk to, but it's just it just didn't work out. And somehow when I get treated as I'm a boss, and I used to be, and I just try to make a profit with a little bit of problems. And when I hear about, how white America, blah, 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 I'm like, wait a minute. I'm just trying to stay afloat here. Even if I was a racist, it's like, it's at the end of the day, it's about making money. But I think fewer and fewer people care about it. I mean, as long as the guy has a good attitude. And my original point was, if you dress a certain way and you act a certain way, and one of the guys that worked for me had like the tattoos and stuff, and of stuff that could have been taken wrong, but that's anybody. That's why I made sure I never went and got myself sleeved, because I thought that was a bad investment for the future. What's the benefit versus the downfall of that? It's not worth it. So when somebody asks, okay, do I have to wear this? And I'm arguing with them to dress like, hey, you got to dress clean, and there's already a problem. And when somebody shows up dressed a certain way, there's a problem. And if a guy is dressed like business suit and everything else, looks like Ben Carlson, he's going to have less of a problem than if a white guy was wearing his hoodie and looks like he's part of the problem. So it's not a race thing nearly as much as it's if people have been bit or they can associate with something that's bad. Let's say they see it on TV or the news or whatever it is. That's how people are going to react, and it could be changed. Of course, it could be changed. People could change. Like I think Muslims used to have a better rap in America, and then of course the last post September 11th and certain things, they've been getting some bad publicity, so people change their opinions about it. I've talked to wonderful Muslims. I'm a religious guy myself, and I could talk to a Muslim probably longer than any of his family members. Believe me, we could bore each other to death, and that's not the point. The point is that's how we're wired. Our mind is wired to react to certain things. It's a survival skill, and of course, if you think something. Let's say, okay, that person looks like a gang member. I'll lock my door or whatever. Then, okay, fine. What's the harm in that? But if I act on it now I'm going to, if I see there's a way I could help somebody, if somebody needs a cup of cold water, if I know somebody is a good worker and they need a reference, if they're a customer of mine, I'm going to do the best job I can. So I don't really understand it. I'm a little bit ignorant. I know there's a whole world to this, but I gotta think that while helping the black community is this gentleman's maybe the genesis of what he's doing, I think he's maybe kind of pandering a little bit just to get more ratings and views and everything else. Because believe me, I know there was a black guy I worked with for years, another company of mine, and this guy was a janitor. He had a lot of employees. This guy, he said all the right things. He could hang out with anybody, and everybody thought he was cool. And he could probably call to show up and be a guest. A very successful businessman. This guy would treat his people terrible. I mean, bad. And the bottom line, it was about his money. Black, white, Chinese, whatever. If you could have been, doing everything for him. Like I did great things for him for years, helped him, got him. Actually, he wound up pushing somebody, and the cops came, and I gave him a bunch of advice to what to tell the cops. And he just was a bad person, and I never connected it to his race. This guy is a bad person, and I could do that all day long. And if, like I said, if somebody looks like they're a problem, I'll lock my door. But why do you have to assume that they're black? That's why I'm locking my door. No, it's because if I've worked with somebody that was a druggie, white guy, and they have a certain look, I'll lock my door. Who cares? I'm not saying anything to him. I'm not hurting him. I'm not costing him any money. It's just because if you have a certain feeling, you cannot change the way you feel. You feel certain ways because of certain events that happen. But the smarter you are, the less you will have that feeling when it's not a problem. Again, if I know somebody and I know their character, then hey, no problemo. But again, if somebody's dressed like a gang member, guess what? People dress like gang members because they want to be treated like a certain way. So don't get mad when